Welcome to Reaching for Rain, Hope for the Storms of Life. Hi, my name is Cindy Mosley, author of Reaching for Rain, Young People Finding Hope in the Storms of Life. Reaching for Rain is about young teens who have overcome struggles they encountered in junior high school. Some of their struggles are school related, and others are about things that happened to them outside of school. All of the teens in Reaching for Rain found ways to cope. I'm a junior high school math teacher, and I love working with young people. Every day I encounter at least one young person who struggles with life, social issues, and school anxiety. Producing this podcast is my open door to any teen who is struggling with gaining their voice, being confident about themselves, and overcoming disappointments related to school and life outside of school. I'm not an expert on depression, but I have led support groups for young people who just needed a place to express themselves, to feel encouraged by someone else, and having someone who understands the issues that they're facing. Reaching for Rain is a place for teens to come and hear stories about other teens who are facing similar difficulties and what they do to overcome their sorrows, disappointments, and social awkwardness without hurting themselves. Each week, I will share a story and then wait anxiously to hear from you to respond to the story. Feel free to share your thoughts in a respectful manner and use appropriate language, please. We don't want to pollute the airspace because this is a PG program, and we would like to use positive language because this is a place to receive encouragement. And I'm hoping you'll feel feel welcome to share your ideas and give encouragement and advice. Young people are full of good advice. This story, the first story that I want to share with you, is called Donnie's Rain. Donnie's story takes place in a middle school, probably like many of yours. Donnie's Rain. Do you have a day in your memory you wish you could erase because no matter how you try to shake it off, the pain still haunts you? It's been 3 years, and I'm still facing the effects of one Monday in sixth grade that changed how I will look at friendships forever. It was the Monday after spring break. I was actually looking forward to school. My family had moved during spring break, and all of our time was spent unpacking and getting settled into our new house in the country. If you don't know what I mean by in the country, I'm talking about living where there are more trees and cows than there are people. My family moved into my parents' dream house. My little sister and I shared a room, and so did my two older brothers. The house was very nice, but our nearest neighbor was an old family friend we called Auntie Silver. She lived a half mile away. There were no girls my age, and since I was 6 years older than my sister, we had very little in common. Since my brothers were in high school and shared a car, they were rarely around when we weren't organizing the house. School was going to be my escape from boredom. I got to school just as the first bell rang. I got to class just before the tardy bell, so I didn't get to see my friends or hang out with them in the gym before school. I went through all of my morning classes looking forward to lunch when I could hear all the news from our old neighborhood. I hurried to the cafeteria after fourth period. When I got there, none of my friends were there yet, so I went to our usual table and began to unpack my lunch. I spotted my friend Victoria first. She was walking in front of our 5 other friends. I smiled and waved at them, letting them know our table was open. We always sat together, and no other kids had sat in the 6 seats around me. I waved again and pointed at the table, but no one looked in my direction. I frowned. I guess they didn't see me, I thought. I sat down and started eating my lunch, knowing they would soon be at the table. To my surprise, when Victoria walked away from the cashier, she headed towards the tables at the opposite side of the cafeteria. I called out to her, but she kept walking. The other girls followed her, not looking in my direction. My heart started beating rapidly as I choked down the bite of sandwich in my mouth. My face heated up as I saw Liliana walking away from the cashier. She at least looked in my direction, and she gave me a half smile, but she still didn't come sit with me. I lifted my hands in a questioning gesture, but she only shrugged her shoulders and went to sit with the others. I was devastated and so embarrassed because no one came to sit with me. For the first time in 3 years, I felt like an outsider. I took a deep breath, fighting the tears stinging the back of my eyelids. I refused to cry because I always thought girls who cried because someone's mean to them were weak. Having older brothers taught me if you let them see you cry, they would pick on you. So I took a deep breath and forced myself to finish my lunch. "I guess you've been rejected," I heard a voice behind me. I turned to see Blake standing there. Blake was a busybody. He was always sticking his nose in other people's business, but he always knew the latest gossip. Blake was standing with one hand on his hip and one eyebrow raised. That was his "I know something you don't know" pose. I turned around and started eating my lunch, finishing my lunch. I was not going to ask him what he knew. I didn't want him to think I cared. "You don't want to know why your BFFs were sitting over there?" Blake asked. "If I wanted to know, I would go ask them," I replied as I began to pack my lunchbox. I quickly threw away my trash and left the cafeteria when the bell rang. I made it through the rest of the day without falling apart, but when I got home, I cried my eyes out. I felt very lonely, and I didn't know what I'd done to make my friends mad at me. For the rest of the week, I ate lunch by myself, and during PE, I didn't seek out any of my friends. I ignored them. On Friday, Liliana approached me at the end of PE and tried to explain why the group had stopped being my friend. Apparently, I had said something about a boy Victoria liked, and she thought I was trying to go out with him. I stopped her. "You know what, Liliana? I don't want to hear it. I've been around I haven't been around any of you since before spring break. I can't believe you would think that about me. That tells me that you are not my friends in the first place." And I turned and walked away. I was hurt and wondered who was lying about me, but I refused to let it show until I got home. At home, I would sit in my room reading, listening to the radio, watching videos, or crocheting. Before school was out, I had made new friends and made a crocheted vest. During the last week of school, Liliana approached me and apologized for being mean to me. She told me that she didn't believe the gossip and tried to convince Victoria. I accepted her apology, but I never hung out with them again. That's Donnie's story. What do you think? Did Donnie handle the situation correctly? What do you think about Liliana or Victoria? What would you do in a similar situation? What advice would you give someone facing a similar situation? I'm really looking forward to hearing from you. Have a great week.